Good morning, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Cumberland Outdoorsman. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing some more tips and techniques for late season squirrel hunting. This is going to be a continuation and also a continuing series for hunting late season squirrels, because I'll tell you, if you've ever participated in this activity and you're a squirrel hunter, you know very well that hunting squirrels in the late season as compared to the early season or even in mid-fall is a completely different ball game. Late season squirrel hunting can be very challenging because they can see you from a long distance. They're very skittish. A lot of times when you step in the woods, everything seems to disappear. You wonder where all the squirrels went? Well, they saw you coming a long time before you got there. And they also heard you coming before you got there. And I'll tell you, you're going to be making long shots, long distance shots with your rimfire, and you really need a good accurate rifle. Something that'll print tight groups 50, 60, 70, and even 80 yards out there, sometimes even further. Now, along with using a good solidly built sporter like this little Winchester 69A, you need to use some premium ammunition, guys. I mean, your gun's only going to shoot as good as the ammunition that you're feeding it. So good quality premium ammunition only makes sense because you need to squeeze as much accuracy as you can out of your rig. Here I've got some Ely subsonic hollow point. This is premium ammo, and I know that out of this rifle and most all of my other rifles, it's deadly accurate, and that's what you want. You're going to be making long distance detailed shots. Like I mentioned, your target, your vital zone is only about that big, so you need to be able to keep it in that zone each and every time if you're going to be successful. I personally like a hollow point because hollow points seem to anchor game animals much more quickly, and they put them down right there. I don't have to worry about one crippling off and getting lost somewhere. And I've run into that before using solid point ammunition. I mean, you can use it, but I have a tendency to favor hollow points. And in a subsonic loading, it's not too destructive, but it does expend its energy very quickly, and it just seems to anchor them right where they are, where I took the shot. That's been my experience. There's two squirrels over there, about 50 yards. Now, in addition to good shooting equipment, I often carry along a fanny pack like this one here, and especially if I go into remote areas, a really remote wilderness area. Even though I'm small game hunting, like squirrel hunting, it doesn't matter. You're going to be out in the wilderness. Anything could happen, folks. You could fall and break a leg, or you could get lost or whatever. It's best to be prepared. And even if that doesn't happen, it's nice to have a few comforts from home in case you want to sit back and relax, maybe have a little snack or something. It's nice to know that you carried something in the woods with you to make things more comfortable. This little pack here is fairly small, it's easily carried. I'm not encumbered whatsoever because it's got this strap on here. And if I could carry it over my shoulder or on my waist, it's got a buckle right here. It's very strong, very durable, And I always carry along some of these carabiners. I'll put them on the strap in case I need to attach it to something, or if I'm tying something together, it's a good way of attaching two lines or whatever. In case I need to build a shelter, if I get lost or something out there, It's just nice to know you've got what you need with you in case you need it. Let me pan down here and show you what I carry in this pack. Here you can see it's got a zipper that runs all the way along. You can open it either way. But some of the things I carry with me here are a pair of gloves for obvious reasons. You know, if your hands get cold. But quite often I like to use these camel gloves because they hide the glare from my skin. And you're going to be moving your hands, you know, if you're stalking game or if you're just sitting there waiting for game to show up and you move your hands, they may spot that movement quite readily if they see the glare from your skin. So if you wear gloves, you can see that blends in with the surroundings, you know, instead of your hands in comparison. So gloves are very handy. They keep your hands warm and they help hide your movements as well. I keep an extra knife like this one here. I always keep it in a sheath, you know, for safety. I keep a sharpening stick like this one here in case I need to use that knife. You know, I use this for field dressing deer, but you can also dress squirrels with it. This has a diamond stick and it puts a nice keen edge very quickly on any knife. Pretty well is self-contained, just like that. Very lightweight, but very handy and useful. I carry this pocket knife on me anyway, everywhere I go. Knives are just so useful. There's a multitude of uses for them. So I keep my pocket knife with me and an extra knife. I also keep some extra ammunition. You know, you never know when you might run out of shells. I also carry a small pair of binoculars, something compact like this. It's easy to carry. You know, you're sitting here and you're try to get settled in. You don't see any game. You know, you want to be comfortable. You can get your binoculars out and just start scanning the whole area. You can see game at a distance that you normally wouldn't see. It allows you to see things in detail much further out. And you might spot a squirrel down there that you normally wouldn't see with the naked eye with a pair of binoculars. So binoculars are definitely useful. A few other things that I carry with me are some survival items, like some extra string, like this 550 cord, very useful. I carry a trash bag. I mean, it weighs hardly anything at all, but there are a multitude of uses. You can use it to put on the ground to keep you from getting wet. You can use it for shelter in case you get caught in a sudden storm. Just so many uses for just a trash bag. I keep an extra pair of cutters like this. These are made by Corona. These are good high quality cutters. You know, in case you want to build a blind or you want to cut some twigs out of your way for a shooting lane. Very useful. Just trying to get you to start thinking a little bit about what you might need. I carry along something to drink, something that'll reseal like this that doesn't leak. You know, I don't want a mess in my fanny pack, so I'll make sure that I have it in a container where it doesn't leak. Might get thirsty while you're out there. And a few snacks, you know, little things that you can carry with you in case you get a little bit hungry. Quick energy. A lighter. Carry a lighter. And also some dry tinder that I keep in this plastic bag for starting a fire. You never know when you're going to get caught out in the wilderness and you need to start a fire. In case you get lost, you know, you'd rather be sitting by a cliff or a rock in the cold dark, or would you rather be sitting by a campfire where you can heat water, stay warm, and keep the boogeyman away? So I keep this, and also a fire starter kit. In case this fails, I've got a backup right here. I've started many fires with this. And if you watch my video from last summer, I'll show you how to use one of these. If you don't have a fire starting kit and you don't know how to use it, then go back and watch that video. You know, especially if you plan on going into some wild, remote area that you're unfamiliar with, where you might get lost. Be prepared. Be able to start a fire. Teach yourself how to do it now. I also carry some of these hot hands with me. These are really handy, especially when you're sitting there and you're cold. Your hands get cold or your feet get cold. You can put these in your boot or put them in your gloves, and they'll warm up your hands pretty quickly. And I also keep some Band-Aids on me here. You never know when you might get cut or whatever, or, you know, get scraped. Just a few things that you might want to think about, you know. I'm sure there's additional items that you folks out there can think of, but I know this sounds like overkill just to go squirrel hunting, but you never know. I mean, you get out there and you get caught in a predicament, you're going to wish you had some of these things when you didn't carry them with you. You know, it's a little bit of extra weight to carry, but believe me, it's a big relief when you need them. So, just trying to get you to think in that direction. So, late season squirrel hunting, you know, the weather can change very quickly. Right now, it's really pleasant out here. The sun's out. It's a little bit windy, but we could have a snow shower later on. You don't ever know, you know. Things can change just like that. The old saying here in Tennessee is, if you don't like the weather, stick around, because it's going to change. Okay, now that's the kind of shot that you could take, but if you miss, no telling where that bullet will end up. So the best thing to do is just wait him out. Wait till he comes down where you've got a safe backstop. He's up there just barking away. Well, my friends, that's 2 more for the stew pot. I got in here this afternoon, and as I walked in, there were squirrels running everywhere. Earlier today, it was real windy, so I remember this holler right here, and I wanted to come in here and slip in here, get set up, let things settle down, and after about 20 minutes or so, squirrels were everywhere. I spotted 2 up here, these 2 over there that I harvested, and then 3 more over here, and 2 more right up here, and 1 a little bit further down. But you know, I could sit here and harvest some more, but 2 is enough. That's enough for a meal. I've already got 2 in the freezer. So remember, if you can get in a location like this where you can look down and over across and see a hillside, a lot of times those squirrels on the other side of the hill, they don't pay much attention to what's going on over here. It's usually the ones on your side. If you make a movement, they're gone. But you can get away with a little bit of movement to get on target. If you watch those squirrels, watch them close. Wait till they get behind a tree, then make your move, get on target, and then when they pop out, make a good shot. Well, my friends, if you've had a good mast crop year, then you'll know to start looking at the ground for food sources. And walking along this trail here, you can see that there's still plenty of acorns on the ground. There's one. This is what these squirrels will be going after. You know, that's what you need to look for. They're good and solid. There's still meat inside. Okay, and peeling the outside layer off of this acorn, you can see that the meat inside is still good. Wildlife is going to be looking for this kind of food, whether it's a deer, squirrels, anything. So you know that in the late season, if you can find food sources like these acorns, that's where you need to concentrate your efforts. Well now guys, if you're really serious about late season squirrel hunting, like I said, look for a good food source, but also go a little deeper. You know, look for signs of feeding, just like I taught you in previous videos that I posted earlier this past season. If you can find signs of feeding and it's fresh, then you know you're in the right area. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here you can see these acorns that I've gathered. You know, that's the kind of food source you want to look for. Acorns and hickory nuts, seed pods like honey locust seed pods, and even maple seed pods is what they'll feed on. But here you can see signs of feeding, where squirrels have chewed these acorns open. Now, one good way to tell if the mass crop that you're finding is any good is you can cut it open . And if the meat inside is still white like this, that's what game is going to be feeding on. You know, there's a lot of nourishment there for them. So find good sources of mass crop that are left over from the fall, and that'll put you in the right area for late season squirrel hunting. Quite often I'm approached by folks that view my channel. They're like, how do you find so many squirrels? You know, I've been squirrel hunting, I can't find any. Look for the food source, folks. If you find the food, that's where you'll find the game. Okay folks, another tactic that you can employ not only in the late season, but anytime squirrel season is open, and that's to wait until after a good rainfall. You know, usually the ground will be saturated, the leaves will be wet, and you can get through the woods a lot quieter, much more stealthy than walking through these leaves when they're dry and crunchy and hard. So I just spotted a couple of squirrels, and there's one barking right here behind me. Remember, a lot of times after torrential rains, these squirrels will be out looking for food. You know, they're coming out of their dens, and they'll be on the ground foraging. So get out in the woods in the late season after a good rain, and you should get some action. Well, folks, I harvested this squirrel a while ago, but my first shot I missed, and it was out there about 40 yards. And I thought maybe I hit a little limb or something, a twig that was in the way. Wasn't really sure. That squirrel went up about halfway up into a cedar tree, and then the second shot I connected and got that squirrel. But that's the second time I shot at a squirrel today, and I didn't quite connect where I wanted it to. So I decided to come over here and set up a target against an old blowdown here with a root ball sticking up in the air. You know, that makes a good backstop. And I found an old plastic can that I set up down there, and two of my shots were just a little bit to the left. So I adjusted my sights and I set up a pine cone, and I backed up even further. I'm here at about 72 yards. I just paced it off. Well, anyway, at that distance, I knew that my bullet would drop a little bit because I've got it sighted in for 50 yards. And it was hitting a little bit to the left, like I said. Then I readjusted my sights and I set up that pine cone, and on that shot, after I readjusted, you can see I took the top half of that pine cone right off. So at 72 yards, you know, if I can hit that pine cone, I'm pretty well assured I can hit a squirrel every time if I do my part. You know, if you're making shots and you think they should have connected, and it's happening, you know, more than once, then check your gun. Your sights might be off a little bit. Anything can happen. You know, it may not be you. It might be the gun. And you'll have to resight your gun, get settled in, make sure you got a good safe backstop, take a few shots, and see where your gun's hitting. And at least then you'll know. And you can continue hunting once your gun's back on the money. So, you know, things like that happen sometimes. The gun could get dropped or bumped or something inadvertently, and you don't know what might have happened. It's a good idea to check your equipment. Okay, my friends, another strategy or tactic that you might want to employ during your late season squirrel hunting efforts is the use of a blind. Remember when you were deer hunting and you saw so many squirrels? Well, the reason you saw those squirrels because they couldn't see you. So I've got a blind set up. It usually helps to have a blind put up for a while so that the wild critters in the area get used to it. And that's exactly what we have here. So let's go check it out. I'm going to slip in this blind here and get set up, and I'll be right back with you. Well, folks, I got settled into this blind here, and it's really nice to be able to come into a sheltered structure like this and to observe everything around you here. I've got quite a field of view here. The wind is off of me. I can get away with more movement here, and to be honest with you, I've had squirrels come right up to this blind here when I was deer hunting, and I think you've probably noticed the same thing. You know, if you have a blind set up from turkey or deer season, give it a try for late season squirrel hunting, because usually you don't have to wait very long and the squirrels will start showing up. Well, folks, using a hunting blind for squirrel hunting, especially in the late season, is one of those tactics that's often overlooked. You know, you don't see much information regarding that subject. Most of the time people either hunt with dogs, which is a great sport. I've done that before and it's really a lot of fun. Or they just go out in the woods and stalk around till they find some movement in the trees or on the ground and hopefully get close enough for a shot. But if you approach things a little more quietly, hunting out of a blind like this is just one of those low impact approaches that can yield good results. And another thing about hunting out of a blind, it keeps the elements away from you. If it starts to rain or even if it's snowing a little bit, it keeps the moisture off of you. It keeps the wind off of you, just like I mentioned earlier. And it's just a lot more comfortable to hunt out of a blind. You can bring a thermos of coffee, and some food if you want to. And quite often there's room for more people here if you want to bring someone to share the hunting experience with you. Nothing wrong with that. And both of you can comfortably sit here and observe the wildlife in the area. Another good thing about hunting out of a blind, if you have a place to put the blind, if you have some property or someone, a landowner maybe, that will allow you to use a blind, it's advantageous if you like to hunt other species of animals like deer, turkey, or whatever. Hunting out of a blind in the late season gives you a chance to observe other game animals and kind of gives you a head start for other upcoming seasons. So if you haven't tried it yet, and you want to get out and do some late season squirrel hunting, you can pick up a blind and get it set up, give it some time for the critters in the area to get used to it, and then approach that blind quietly, slip in there, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what you'll encounter. Well, folks, I think I made a pretty good shot on that squirrel. I saw some movement down there earlier, and one climbed up on that blowdown. It's about 55, 60 yards from here. And even though it's quite distant, I was able to get the camera up here, get it zoomed in, get my rifle in place, and squeeze off a pretty good shot. I don't think I would have gotten away with that much movement if it hadn't been for this blind. So you can see that hunting out of a blind can make you a more effective hunter. Well, quite often whenever I'm talking to other hunters and the subject matter of camouflage comes up, it never fails. One of them will always say, well, my favorite pattern is mossy oak bottomland, or real tree advantage, or tree bark, or whatever the latest pattern is, the latest camouflage invention. That's what you need to use, because that's what I used when I harvested my 10-point buck. Well, the truth of the matter is that any camouflage pattern that's out there will work very well if it's matched up to the right situation. If you've got a lot of green leaves on, if you got a lot of undergrowth and things are starting to green up in the springtime, like when you're turkey hunting, then obviously you want to use something that has some green in the camo pattern, something that'll blend in. And that's what you need to concentrate on, folks. It doesn't matter what brand or what pattern it is. If you match it up to the given situation that's at hand, wherever you're going to be hunting, then that's the pattern that you need to be using. So remember that, whenever you're shopping for camouflage. Don't go by all these fads that you hear, people saying, oh, this camo works better than that camo or whatever. match up the camo that you're going to be using, that you expect to use in your area, and you'll be successful. Believe me, I know from experience. Well, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really wanted to include some tips and techniques that I found useful in my pursuit of this sport of late season squirrel hunting, and include it in the content of this video so that you might gain, a few little tips and tricks to help you out when you're out in the woods after squirrels this time of year. Because like I said, these late season squirrels are a real challenge. They can spot movement from a long distance. They hear you coming, and you really got to be on your toes to be successful. That's why I try to employ other techniques like hunting out of a blind or hunting on one side of a ridge overlooking another ridge. Just making sure that your gun is right on the money for long distance shots. And one thing I should include is that I'm hoping to make this additional set of videos to add to my 22 rimfire series. And this year, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency has actually lengthened the squirrel season till mid-March. So I'm hoping to get out in the woods and maybe make another video for y'all using my 22 rimfires, because just like you guys, I just love my old guns, my old 22s, and that's where we share kind of a camaraderie. And, just something special about those old guns and being able to go out in the woods and use them. And then a month later, the spring turkey season will open up. So I'm really excited, and I hope to participate in that as well. And then at the end of the turkey season, another spring squirrel season will open up. So, there'll be some more opportunities for me to get out in the woods and make more videos to share with you guys. So with that being said, let me go ahead and close out and say thanks for coming along. I hope you enjoyed the video just like I mentioned. And remember this, if you like to go hunting, fishing, camping, shooting, hiking, whatever your outdoor pursuit happens to be, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. But also remember, hit that like button, smash the bell icon, and subscribe. That way you'll know when more videos like this one will be coming your way. So until next time, y'all take good care of yourselves. Get out there and enjoy the great outdoors. I'll be seeing you.